Hello, people. Welcome back to
Hello.
Open Mind Podcast. This is episode 2 of this mental health series. I'm your host, Annabelle Rodriguez, and my co-host, the beautiful Danny DeVoe,
Hi, guys.
is in the house.
Yes, we are. We're here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special show for you guys today. We've been getting requests left and right for us to tackle the subject of depression.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a big one. So today, guys, stay tuned for a lot of information and insight from a professional licensed psychotherapist and from me.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Awesome.
Today's a special one. We're doing a big, common mental health barrier diagnosis of depression.
Yes, I think it is a mental health subject that is probably felt by most. Most people have felt some form of depression or sadness or however you want to describe it in their life, so they can resonate with a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about. And also it's important to inform and educate people about the different forms of depression.
Yep.
This is your expertise, so I'm going to let you kind of flow and inform and educate people about, you know, some of the tactics that they can use to help them in their life and in their families' lives.
Yeah.
You know, so why don't you go ahead and dive into it?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say to our audience is try not to pathologize with this information, the ones in your
What does that mean?
Yeah,
people are like, what does pathologize mean?
Pathologize is labeling your loved ones
Pointing
with this,
fingers?
Yes, pointing fingers, saying, you have depression. I heard it on a podcast. You have those things. I really encourage you to stay away from that with your loved ones. If you hear certain traits or behaviors that are going to be discussed today within your loved ones exhibiting these behaviors, encourage them to seek mental health support, like a licensed therapist, licensed psychologist, etc.
Yes. It's very important because most people always look externally outwards before they look internally. And a big topic and theme in all of the Dreams to Reality Network podcast is to always look internal. You know, so everything that we're putting out there for the public is for people to work on themselves and to apply in their life to make it a better experience, a better life journey, and to help you accomplish your life goals. And I personally know that depression is something that will stop you from accomplishing your goals. It will completely debilitate you if you don't learn how to control your emotions, your thought process, how to be introspective, retrospective, and to work internally on your own thought process. And, so I'm very curious in finding out all the information that you have and diving deep into it. So why don't we start off with the different forms of depression?
Yeah, so we're going to provide a lot of psychoeducation around and providing insight and understanding of what these clinical diagnoses consist of. There are multiple within the depression range. So bear with us. This is going to be very informational. You're going to get a lot of good nuggets from this. Some things you might relate to, some you may not. If you are curious to see if you have any of these diagnoses, reach out again to a mental health professional to have them officially diagnose you.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to just stress that as much as possible.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
So the first one that is the least interfered within your life, the interference.
Interruptive, maybe.
Interruptive, yes.
Your life. I know which one you're going to talk about, so I know what you're trying to say. It's you can be living with this for a very long time.
Yes.
Not address it, but it's there.
It's familiar. So this one's called dysthymia, which is also persistent depressive disorder.
Yeah.
They are the same diagnosis, same terminology.
Yeah.
This one is feeling depressed. You have to have it for at least 2 years.
Wow.
Before you can even be diagnosed with this form of diagnosis of depression.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Is it consistent 2 years, or is it some type of thing where like you feel really down and they're not able to accomplish the things you normally do for a certain period of time. Then you have energy, kind of like if you're bipolar or something.
Yeah, we're going to get
or
into
is
that.
it you 2 years, you're like nonstop depressed?
Yeah, so this is persistent. So persistent 2 years. So you have 2 years with dysthymic features in order to be diagnosed. And then these symptoms have to last at least 60 days.
Okay.
2 months average.
Yeah.
So within this component, it's the lesser of major depressive disorder. It's long term.
Yeah.
It's usually from childhood.
Is it low grade?
It's a low grade depression. Okay. Yeah. And this is the kind of depression that you've lived with your entire life.
Yeah. So
you are really not familiar what it's like to not live with depression.
Yeah.
It's as consistent but low grade. It's except for within the 60 days, you can feel it more intensely.
I do have a question about this this form of depression, and because from my experience, a lot of the times, people that are in a depressive state for such a long time, their life really hasn't evolved or grown or changed in that 2 years. They haven't addressed it. They haven't really accomplished any goals. Their life might be even going in the backwards and negative. Because a lot of times people think they have depression, but they just have a shitty life.
Yes.
Like you could just be having really bad luck and not know how to control your emotions, and you're just sad. Mm-hmm. But then there's people that everything could be going great in their life, but they still have that dysthymia. Like exactly. On the outside, you could be like, hey man, you're a successful whatever you are. You're making a lot of income. You're healthy. You have a family. You're married. But they're still walking around with this low grade depression for a long period of time. You said, it could be caused by childhood trauma or feelings of inferiority or whatever it is, something that they haven't addressed. But I do want to tell people out there that sometimes you're not depressed. You're just you have a shitty life, man, and you need to set some goals. You need to get healthy as far as your physique. If you're feeling down all the time, you have to get your life in order and learn how to use certain emotions to get you to accomplish things, because life is not easy. It's tough.
It's not.
And anybody could slip into this quote unquote dysthymia or long-term depressive disorder if you ain't doing shit with your life. So
and
I do want to put that out there.
Yeah, and I love that you did that, because it's true. There's sadness and then there's depression. And for us clinical therapists to diagnose our clients, they have to meet certain criteria in order to be diagnosed with that mental health.
I understand.
Diagnosis. So with dysthymia, it's the least sought out diagnosis
I can see
for
that.
support, because you are so used to living into this reality of dysthymia, and that consists of overeating, undereating, sleep increase or decrease, low energy, fatigue, low concentration, hopelessness, a decrease in your productivity. It can create isolation. It can create anger and irritability, and then a lot of sadness and feelings of guilt. But they're not as intense as major depressive disorder.
Yes.
So they're constantly there, but they're just not exasperated. They're not intensified. They're not, you can function through your life. You can go through every day and have these kind of symptoms with a high functioning.
So for someone that's dealing with this dysthymia, this long-term low-grade depression, and they have all these symptoms that you just put out, what is the kind of clinical help that you provide for them that allow them to not feel that? Or is that something that just people just have to deal with for the rest of their life?
Yeah, what I've come across is that dysthymia is going to always be there.
Yeah, I kind of felt that just by listening to you say what it was. I'm like, I don't think there's anything really, if someone has that for real, like I said, it's not, you just have a shitty life.
You have to be diagnosed appropriately.
You not just have a shitty life, but like everything's great, but you still have this. I think I don't know what it is. Is it a chemical imbalance, like people say?
It can be, yes.
Maybe drugs will help them out.
Yes. Well, drugs come into different aspects of different more of the other depressive diagnosis we're going to get into.
Yeah.
But drugs could be a component of this.
Yeah.
Self-medicating is usually what happens with drugs. So
they just start drinking.
They usually coexist within each other.
Yeah.
We call it co-occurring diagnosis, where you have a mental health diagnosis of depression or anxiety with drug addiction.
Yeah.
So there's co-occurring diagnosis. That's why within the criteria of the diagnostic manual, which I call the therapy Bible.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen it. It provides those kind of guidelines to say at the very end, this cannot be due to a substance abuse issue.
Okay.
So that is one of the criteria is to be able to diagnose.
Okay.
So there's that component. So to feed into what you were saying, this is a type of depression that you really can't get rid of, because I believe from my experience, from what I've seen my clients cycling in that 60-day period, it's a chemical imbalance.
Okay.
And they it's like a veil. You can feel it. This is how they describe it. You can feel it lift and you can feel it come. Mm-hmm. And so when my clients get into these type of 60-day cycles, I encourage them to take one day at a time, because in that space, there's this frustration that they don't have the same energy that they did a week ago.
Yeah.
And they were able to get X, Y, and Z done, but now they're in this dysthymic episode, and it's really hard to function.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just talk about my own personal experience. 'Cause I didn't know that I had dysthymia until recently, when I was actually diagnosed with a major depressive disorder. And that led me to, because I did see a psychiatrist that diagnosed that, also with social anxiety disorder and panic disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. And it was something that I was carrying around with me for a long time, since I was a little kid, but I just never really addressed it. And I just thought that's just life. That's just how you deal with shit. Mm-hmm. Things happen in your life and they're sad and you deal with them. And not until I got diagnosed and they put me on medication, an SSRI, that I realized, like, holy shit, like, it completely removed that feeling that I had for all those years. Mm-hmm. That general depression that was like kind of lingering in my shoulder, that anxiety that I always had, like at the pit of my stomach, it all completely went away. Mm-hmm. And it was like literally like a backpack of rocks being thrown off your back.
Yep.
And you're able to move, because when you're in these states of having these symptoms,
emotional distress,
it's difficult to accomplish things in your life, because I still had goals, I still things I wanted to do, but it was like you're carrying this extra bag of rocks with you and you're trying to run up this hill, and it's frustrating. And that was the biggest thing that I got, was I was just frustrated. Like, I don't want to feel this anymore. I just want to be able to like just do what I want to do and not be tired and being like feeling like this way. And
it comes with a lot of judgment.
Nobody knew.
No, judgment from self.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I guess you're right. Because I'm like, man, this is like, I felt frustrated. I guess that's the best way I could say. I don't think I judged myself. I think I just felt frustrated. Like, I knew deep down inside me, like, this isn't who I am. Like,
you're capable more.
I'm meant to do more shit, and I hate this. I call him my little monkey on my back. Like, get the fuck off me. And for me, the SSRIs definitely helped. It removed completely all my anxiety. Before, I would be completely like in such panic sometimes that it led to me not being able to leave my house. Like, I was like a hermit, because everything caused a panic attack. I went to Walmart and I would have a panic attack, so now I can never go into Walmart. I went to go order a pizza and something happened and it caused a panic attack, and now I can't go to Pizza Hut no more. And your world gets smaller and smaller and smaller till you're just like in your house and you don't want to leave. And I made a decision. I said, fuck that. I'm going to get out of this situation. And I proactively searched for answers, and that's what led everything that happened. And that's what led to you being here on this show, because I know that there is answers out there for people to find and to help them get out of that hole,
Well, and labeling it is a big component of taking back the control over the mental health diagnosis, the barrier, labeling it, and now I know what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's dysthymia. Oh, it's major depressive disorder. Now I can do something with this.
Yeah.
And I have a game plan. But when you don't know and you're questioning, that's very debilitating.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I'm hoping that anyone that listens out there and hears these things, they could be like, oh, you know what?
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Go get some help.
Go get some support. Dana. Yeah. So there's that's dysthymia. Yeah. And that is the lowest grade of the depressions. And then there's major depressive disorder.
Right.
And this is the diagnosis that most therapists will see come into their practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see how people with the dysthymia never go seek help because, like I said, I didn't even know I had it.
No, because they're so used to living with it.
Yeah. But then you get to this point where something drastic happens in your life.
Yep.
Someone dies or something happens where it's overwhelming.
Situational.
And the depression and whatever else you have in you is just like exploding from the top of your head. And you know, like, okay, I need help. You know, this is just too much to bear. Maybe at this point, people are having suicidal ideation or feeling like ending their suffering. And this is where most people seek professional help.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So major depressive disorder, you have to show symptoms for at least 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So grief, which is another topic we're going to eventually discuss on the episode, but grief and depression, even though they have similar symptoms, you can't diagnose someone with major depressive disorder if they're going through the grief cycle.
That makes sense.
Because it's a different type of
it's
sadness.
very, very different.
And depression is part of the grief cycle.
Yeah.
But
it's
you
not.
treat it differently.
Yeah.
Completely differently.
I agree.
So major depressive disorder, it's similar to the dysthymic symptoms. They're just more intensified.
Right. Read those again real quick.
Yeah. So overeating or undereating.
You know what? I did have a major depressive episode. And I will tell you from my experience, it was the weirdest thing I ever felt. It was very, very, very odd because I love two things. I love music and I love eating.
Food, yeah.
And it was weird. Like I would see food and I felt nothing. Like I wasn't hungry and it like almost made me disgusted. And I couldn't eat anything. And then music, it was weird because when I hear music, it does a certain thing to me. Like I'm one of those people that gets goosebumps very easily from music, and it makes me move. And I'm a musician. It did absolutely nothing. Like I couldn't even pick up my guitar or touch it. Like it was like nothing. I felt nothing. I felt extremely.
No joy.
Yeah, it was just everything was just gloom and doom. And you know, I was going through a lot of things at that time, and I couldn't sleep. It was weird. Like I had like tics. Like I was like twitching and stuff in the bed like all night long, and I couldn't sleep. It was horrible. And to the point where I was having suicidal ideation because I just didn't want to suffer anymore. I didn't want to die.
No,
I didn't want to. I didn't want to kill myself. I don't want to freaking do something to hurt myself. But I just wanted it to end. I didn't want to feel that anymore, and I wanted to get out of what I felt was a prison. It was a mental prison. Also, there was outside circumstances causing a lot of this stuff, which I obviously corrected and went on a journey to heal myself, which I'm still on. But I can tell people out there that if you're going through a major depressive episode, I know I completely blocked myself out from everyone.
Yeah, I saw you. It's part of it.
I didn't even want to tell people. Nobody knew what I was going through, but I was like, man, it was tough. I was just literally like, it was a horrible time in my life, but no one knew. And then once I reached out finally, and I said, you know what, I can't do this alone anymore. I reached out to the people that mattered. So I reached out to my family, my parents, to really, really, really close friends. And then I got medical and psychological help. I got on the SSRIs. And I realized that in those times you need those close people to you to help you get out of that situation. Two, you might need that medical intervention. I don't, obviously go see your doctor and you have your own decisions to make. But for me, the SSRIs were a godsend. And also, I went on a healing journey of searching for truth and knowledge and wisdom and introspection. And I never, ever, ever blamed anything outside but myself. And for the time when I was extremely depressed, all I did was blame everything and everyone.
Of course.
And I was a complete ball of hatred and anger and resentment. And I just hated who I was. And once I took 1,000% accountability of my life and started to, create a plan to get out of that situation, things started to change drastically, so there is hope for everyone out there that is going through this major depressive disorder or episode.
Yeah.
And there is help, and this is part of it. So I know that by people listening to you, they're definitely going to get help.
Yeah. And the loss of interest component is more exasperated with major depressive disorder, and we call that anhedonia.
Okay.
So anhedonia is a loss of interest in things that used to bring you joy. Food, music. It no longer lit you up the same way.
Yeah,
so that is
couldn't
work out. Exactly. So that is an indicator that it's major depressive disorder.
Yeah.
Because it's more intensified. So the difference between dysthymia is you can function through your daily life, go on to work, go have a date, etc. With major depressive disorder, you can't function. It interferes with your interpersonal relationships, your work relationships, everything.
Yeah.
It's more debilitating.
Yeah.
And that is also where suicidal ideation becomes most alive.
It makes a lot of sense.
And how you were saying how you were feeling suicidal, it's about you wanting to escape the emotional pain that you were feeling paralyzed in because you saw no out in that moment, because that is what the emotion tells you.
Yeah.
So in my work, when I'm noticing my clients going through a depressive episode or major depressive disorder, I coach them into accepting, biggest part, this diagnosis is where they're at. Because the more we try to get out of it, it's like the Japanese fingers, the Chinese finger traps, where if you put your fingers in, you keep pulling harder and harder.
Yeah,
it gets tighter.
Yeah,
it gets more restrictive.
Yeah.
So the more resistance you put in, the harder it is to get out of it.
Yeah.
When you start to accept, hey, I'm in a depressive episode, I'm going to give myself 3 days to just lay in bed, do bare minimum. On my third day, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to take a shower. And I'm going to go for a walk on that third day. And you choose the day that you feel is appropriate for you, because then that's giving you freedom to be in the misery. Also, what I've noticed in my practice is that individuals who grow up with major depressive disorder, or it's been a consistent feeling or existence in their reality, they don't want to let it go. Because it's familiar, it's comfortable, and they know how to navigate the darkness over the light.
Yeah, the thing with that is, like I've said this many times before, emotions are a chemical, a drug, that your body releases, and you will get addicted to them. If you're constantly angry, your body is used to that chemical being released in your body, and it gets used to it, and that's how it survives. So yeah, like they say, misery loves company.
Exactly.
And people like depressive music. People like sad movies. There is a certain melancholy feeling that some people do like, and I'll be honest, like there are moments in time where it does feel familiar. And it feels like, okay, I can deal with this because I've dealt with this my whole life. And I'm talking about dysthymia, not major depressive disorder, because I don't want that nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
But that dysthymia, it becomes alluring, and it becomes addicting to a lot of people.
Well, it's safe. Because
it's a victim's mentality of like, well, you can blame everything else instead of saying like, shit, I caused this. I'll just blame it's because I was born here, or it's because of my skin color, or it's because of, my job, or it's because of
which are all valid reasons, but you can't stay trapped.
I mean, I wouldn't call them valid. I would think they're just an excuse, because like I like to take full control and accountability for my life, and it is easy to be a victim, because maybe certain things happened to you as a kid that you had no control over, but you said this before, what happens to you as a child is not your fault, but what you do as an adult is. And a lot of the times these horrible, horrible things that happen to you is for you to learn and to hopefully fix it, because it's typically, from my experience, a repeat pattern, not only in your life, but in your family's life. And what I mean by that is that I do feel that a lot of these mental health issues that people have, including depression, is caused by biology. So I could think back. I think my father had, I'm pretty sure he had dysthymia his whole life. He always seemed depressed, and there would be moments where he was a little bit more, and I can tell, and I can also see that my dad kind of struggled with social anxiety. He would get very anxious in certain situations, and I do think it's biological. A lot of these psychological and mental health issues that a lot of people have.
It is,
and and I think it's our job. Like I said, I don't want to be a victim. I want to take 1,000% control of my life and 100% accountability. It's easy for me, like, oh, it's biology. My dad has it, so I'm that way. Like, and I can fix it. I can fix it by learning, being aware of it, and then little by little. That is how you evolve. Evolution is very, very, very slow. It takes a long time, sometimes generations. But guess who it starts with? It starts with you.
Yourself.
And I was interviewing my friend Gary Cornegay Sr., makes like $2-3 million a year, probably more, multi-millionaire. And, we're talking about leaving a legacy, and having generational wealth.
Yes.
And I asked him, like, how do you do that? If, like, I said, like, I was walking by these houses in Newport Beach, and I looked up how much they cost, and they were like freaking $10 million. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to get those. Like, I want to have that. I want to have generational wealth. I want to, all these things that you want. And I told him, how do you do that? And he says, it starts with you.
Yeah.
You're the one that has to, he asked me, like, do you know your father's name? And I said, yeah.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Do you know your grandfather's name? I was like, I couldn't think of my grandfather's name. I know it, and I forgot it. And he's like, well, see, that's where it is. You have to do something where your children remember you.
Yeah.
And your kids remember you. And that's how you leave a legacy. And that is how you evolve. So as little by little you fix these issues that if you don't fix them, you're going to pass them on to your children and to the people around you. And you're going to create the same issues that you have. And I've seen it over and over again, like I'll date a girl or something and she has the same issues that her mom had, and most people hate to admit it, that they have these same issues, but a lot of the times you do. And I know that, I have a lot of the same issues that my dad and my mom had, and I've been able to my best efforts, correct a lot of them. And, that's just my little 2 cents on that.
Well, I think I want to kind of challenge it a little bit.
Go ahead.
Your belief is wonderful because it's yours. But when it comes to depression, there's so much shaming about what is physiologically happening in the space, what you have control over and what you don't. You might be having a shitty day at work. Your boss yelled at you. It triggered something. You have every right to be upset. Don't let it consume you. Don't let it control you. Say, hey, I'm upset, but you know what? I'm choosing this narrative over that. And that's where you have the power to shift.
Yeah.
That is where the healing component happens. Because if we try to say, well, I'm being a victim in my depression right now, you're taking away the power. You have to go back and say, okay, I don't want to be a victim. I'm going to get up and shower. I'm going to do the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. Hold on a second. You said you're going to challenge me. How are you challenging me?
Well, in that sense of that belief that it's not just like you just go in and you conquer. It's you have to accept the bad parts too.
No, I never said you don't accept the bad parts.
Okay.
And this is a thing that I learned because, like I said, I deal with dysthymia.
Yeah.
And I deal with major depressive disorder. Like I these are things that I live with every single day of my life. And I am telling you from my own perspective and my own philosophy in life, as far as how I've been able to still accomplish things that I need to accomplish, was through having 100% self accountability and not blaming outside things. I'm not saying not to accept that I have these things. Like I said, I have major depressive. I had major depressive disorder. I have dysthymia. I have social anxiety. I've had these things, but I've been able to overcome them and conquer them and fix them by taking self accountability and educating myself on how to fix it.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of the things that I do is, you have to have more discipline, and you have to have the ability to control those emotions when they come, because depression comes, sadness comes, excitement comes. And no matter what emotion you are feeling, if you are disciplined, you will still accomplish the things that you need to accomplish.
I agree. Yes.
So like you said, okay, I'm depressed, on the third day, I'm going to take a shower. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? That third day is going to come.
Yes, you have to be disciplined in your
guess
word.
What? You can either be a victim to that depression, what I meant.
Okay, got it.
Or you can take self-accountability, say I created this plan, and regardless of how I feel, I am going to do that thing that I set out to do. I didn't want to see a psychiatrist. I didn't want to see a therapist.
Yeah.
I didn't want to admit that I had these things. I didn't want to say all these things. It is the reality of life. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you cannot keep blaming everything around you. You have to take accountability. If you're fat, you're fat. If you're dumb, you're dumb. Yeah. If you're whatever it is that is not a good thing, it might hurt your feelings, but it is the reality. And that is what's going to set you free from the mental chains. And I didn't want to be a slave anymore. Yeah. I didn't want to be a slave to depression and anxiety, all this stuff. I wanted to be free. And I think most humans, more than anything in this world, want freedom.
Yeah.
Any type of freedom, financial freedom, emotional freedom, psychological freedom, to be able to express themselves however they want to express themselves without feeling shame, regret, and just being able to survive and thrive. Like, who doesn't want that? But these issues that we have are barriers.
They are.
And they are everywhere. There's barriers, there's potholes, and we're trying to get through our life and shit, and then all these different things are coming at us. And we are running, and sometimes you fall in these pits, and some people get trapped in them forever,
Well, and maybe that's what I hear you saying in that context is, don't get trapped in the pit hole.
Yeah.
Keep going. Get yourself back up, even when you're battling this.
Yeah. What are the other forms of depression? So we tackled dysthymia, major depressive disorder. And you touched a little bit on suicidal ideation from major depressive disorder.
There's PMDD, which is just added to the diagnostic manual.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't. It's premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It's mostly primarily women, because it's for their menstrual cycle.
I've heard of PMS.
Yeah, so PMS and PMDD are very different. Every woman has PMS. That's
postmenstrual stress?
Yes. It's where we are irritable, or it exasperates the emotions that we're already feeling.
Like right before
our period.
Okay. Is it due to like a chemical thing? Because
yes, hormones.
Because you produce a lot of progesterone, I think it is. I can see how that can happen. You have like a hormonal imbalance.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of estrogen. So, I mean, like we said, a lot of these issues could be biological in the sense where, if you're producing a bunch of certain chemicals, it doesn't matter what your thought process is, you're going to feel that.
Oh, you're going to feel it regardless. So that's PMS.
I could be super chilling right now.
Yeah, and
someone
then all of a
injects
sudden,
me with adrenaline. Guess what's going to happen? I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why your partners or the women in your life are going to have some hormonal reaction with PMS. PMDD is where it's major depressive disorder right before you get your period and after.
Okay.
So, well, not exactly after. It's during and right before. And then some people that I've experienced in my practice have like this brain fog that just lifts after they come out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it must suck to have a brain fog, but
it's really bad.
The lifting is always a good part.
Yes, exactly. And then we're going to go into bipolar disorder, which we'll probably have a whole nother
Yeah, I know you
episode.
said that bipolar is a subject that you want to tackle all on its own.
Yeah, it's a
because
beast.
it is a beast, and I feel like that's one of those things that everybody says, "Oh, she's bipolar." Oh,
Yeah, and
he's bipolar.
That bothers me.
Yeah,
It really, I guess, because I'm a mental health professional. When someone says, "Oh, they're being so bipolar," that is a real challenging diagnosis
yeah,
to have. And so when people say, "Oh, they're fluctuating so rapidly within moments," that's not bipolar disorder.
yeah.
Bipolar disorder takes time. It's moods. It's
And there's different forms.
and there's different forms. There's hypomania. There's manic. There's all these kind of components to be able to be diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So again, that pathologizing component is the dangerous part.
Yeah. So we will be shooting a episode specifically on bipolar, the different forms, and how to address it, and hopefully help
live
people
with it. Yeah.
But there is a form of depression that comes from the bipolar disorder.
Yeah. So there's bipolar 1 and bipolar 2.
Okay.
So bipolar 1 is the most severe of the diagnosis.
Yeah.
And they have mania, hypomania, and then major depressive disorder.
Oh, okay.
And it fluctuates in that form. Then there's bipolar 2, which is hypomania and major depressive disorder.
Okay.
The bipolar 1 is the most severe because it creates barriers in your daily functioning, your relationships, your work, where bipolar 2, they can function.
I see.
On a daily basis.
Yeah, so it's like the low grade of
the
bipolar.
low grade of bipolar.
Yeah.
But the thing with bipolar disorder, you can go on with major depressive disorder, dysthymia, PMDD without medications.
Yeah.
You can do psychotherapy and get support.
Yeah.
Even if you don't choose to take medication. With bipolar disorder, only 23% are living with high functioning bipolar disorder, which means that they're doing psychotherapy, they're getting the support, but they're not really medicated.
Okay, and they're still seeing results?
They're seeing only 23%.
The rest are just still having...
They're not functioning.
Now, when you say not functioning, when it comes to these disorders, I mean, it's kind of... I think it's kind of difficult to say what is, not working, but... would you say like their life is a disorder or disarray? Like
completely.
Like they have like no friends, everybody hates them. Like
not necessarily.
They lose their job all the time.
Sometimes a lot of individuals
what does their life look like?
So a lot of individuals with bipolar disorder change jobs a lot. Okay. They're rapid changing jobs. It depends on if they're bipolar 1 or bipolar 2. It's a wide range of different emotions that come into place, and then it's high energy. With bipolar 1, like extreme high highs, extreme low lows.
I see.
So if you're constantly in a high, you're not focusing, you're not being present. It's kind of like ADHD symptoms. Yeah. Not being able to be having a conversation like this.
Oh, wow.
It wouldn't be reality because their brain would be going, they're being so fast, and then can you catch up to what I'm saying? And then that's bipolar disorder.
I see.
Then bipolar 2, it's more functioning, high functioning, so you can get through and function however you want in your daily life and it not be as interfering. Okay. But you're going to have low lows, and your hypomania is still going to be present. Yeah. It just won't be as extreme as bipolar 1.
I see.
So the reason why I say that 23% of high functioning is because that is the one diagnosis that is required to have medication. I will not see an individual in my practice if they have bipolar disorder if they are not medicated.
Okay. What kind of medication do they provide for
mood stabilizers?
Oh, okay. Like lithium or something?
Lithium is one of them, but that's such a dangerous, one of the dangerous drugs to do.
Yeah, I don't know anything about drugs.
Yeah, and I don't want to really go into because it's out of my scope of practice. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't prescribe. Yeah. So it's out of my scope. But lithium is one of the most severe drugs for bipolar disorder. Yeah. Because you have to check your liver constantly. So you have to get blood drawn. You have to make sure it's not destroying other organs in your body.
Yeah, it's a very toxic metal.
It's a very toxic metal. So I always get concerned when certain clients are on lithium. I have them kind of reevaluate some other.
I think there's probably at this point a lot of new drugs that we don't even know about. Like I said, I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know anything about these mind-altering drugs. I mean, for a long time, I was a big proponent of, don't take drugs and just fix everything, through your thought process and through fixing your life. But I've realized more and more that there's certain illnesses that you do require having medical intervention, and obviously, I recommend to see a doctor or
a psychiatrist for sure,
or a therapist or somebody that can actually, one, accurately diagnose you, and then two, put you on the right, medication. And I think for a lot of people with these more aggressive disorders, it's there's even like what do they call that when they hear voices?
Oh, schizophrenia. Like these more severe mental health issues. Sometimes it's very difficult to find the right combination of drugs to stabilize them so that they can live a normal life, because everybody is different and everybody reacts differently to certain chemicals. Like you give somebody as simple as coffee, some people get really ridiculously wired on coffee. I could drink like 20 freaking cups of coffee. I don't feel nothing. My, receptor cells are like dead to caffeine. And then there's other people that it makes them sleepy. That makes them tired. Like they drink coffee to go to the bed, and that's just coffee. Now imagine these crazy ass drugs, how the wide range of reactions to them is. And I mean, obviously there's a cocktail. You have to figure it out.
They have their process to clinically make a drug safe, and they do all these different stuff. But even then, it's like very difficult to pinpoint exactly what someone needs. So
and bipolar disorder. So for dysthymia and major depressive disorder, you can see your GP, your general practitioner, your primary doctor, and they'll prescribe you the medication to support. Bipolar disorder and ADHD meds and schizophrenia, all those kind of diagnoses, are only through a psychiatrist.
I see. Okay.
And so in order to, and the other thing too is consistency with bipolar disorder, routine, and physical activity. Because you need structure with those diagnoses.
I think structure is important for everyone, regardless of what mental health situation they're in. I think having a goal, having a structured life, and having things that bring joy to your life, but at the same time purpose and drive and something that you're going after, will a lot of the times really dissipate all of these things that are going on in the background, because you're just too damn busy, and you're doing something that's going to be fruitful for your future, and you're setting yourself up to be in a more comfortable situation compared to living in hopelessness and not doing any action, And that leads to the last part, which is, we talked a little bit about it as far as major depressive disorder, but it's suicide and suicidal ideation, and touch on that a little bit as far as, how all of these different types of depression lead people to suicide and how we can prevent that.
So bipolar disorder, for that diagnosis, the risk for suicide is not when they're at their low and not when they're at the high. It's when they start to come out of the low and have energy, but still feel shitty.
So when they're really depressed, they're too depressed to even kill themselves?
To kill themselves, to do anything about it. So for me as a clinician, that is the space where I'm constantly hypervigilant, on guard, just assessing constantly their suicidal ideality, their narrative. It's okay to have suicidal thoughts. Everybody has them at one point in their life. So suicidal thoughts are normal. So a lot of my clients are even scared to come in and say, I'm feeling this way. No, let's talk about it. Put it in. Do you have any intent? Do you have a means? Do you have a plan? Let's go into that. Do you plan to kill yourself today? These are things I directly ask. If they say yes, I have a whole nother game plan that I go and jump into. I have to evoke a 5150, call a police officer, the 911, or the PET team to go check in on my client,
Yeah.
Or if they're in my space, I have to sit with them until a team comes to make sure that they get assessed and taken to a hospital.
Yeah.
Hospitalization is a thing. I've hospitalized, over 30 people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing that I just see from observation is a lot of the times when people are quote unquote suicidal, what they try to do is, self-medicate, and they'll drink a bunch of alcohol or do a bunch of narcotics to drown out those feelings, because they don't want to feel the depression that they have and all of that. And on top of that, they've been thinking about ending their life because they don't want to feel this suffering. And now they're intoxicated to where their inhibitions are lower.
Impulsive.
You become impulsive. And then at that point, they'll do a drastic thing without thinking much. I think most suicides that are actually accomplished are done in that state, or it's like a brief moment where they're not in the right state of mind. Their emotions are really high. Their inhibitions are low because of either their thought process or the narcotics or alcohol flowing through their body. And they make a rash decision, from my experience and observing, the people that actually sit down, contemplate things, make a plan to kill themselves. I think that's very rare. From my experience, because I don't think most people want to hurt themselves or kill themselves or do all of that. I think they just want to end whatever suffering they have, and they're hoping, to do it the quickest and least painful way. And, and when you're intoxicated on top of it, you don't even think about it.
Well, they're trying to escape from the emotional pain, not their life in general.
Yeah.
And when you're in that emotional state, it gets confusing. And again, going back to that tunnel, you only see darkness. And so the biggest part is knowing that there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You've been here before. You've gotten through it before. You can do this.
Yeah.
Take one moment at a time. Normalize what they're going through.
Yeah.
But again, if you have loved ones that are feeling suicidal, get them support. Have them show up, because that's where it's going to be. Yeah.
If anybody ever tells you that they're having these thoughts or that they're thinking about it or planning, take it seriously.
Believe them.
And, like I said, get some help for them. And,
because it's a scary thing. And a lot of the times, those that have attempted and failed come back and reflect on how scary that was, and that they never want to do that again.
Yeah, I was watching, I don't know if it was a documentary or some kind of series about people that have attempted suicide. And most people that attempt suicide,
don't try again.
No, they don't. But also on top of that, most people that attempt suicide are not successful. Most of them are botched suicides, and they live with it even a worse life, because now they have the repercussions of like they're injured, or their face is disfigured, or now their liver and organs are all jacked up because they took way too many pills or whatever.
Well, there's people that shot themselves and missed, and now they're missing.
They're missing half of their head or whatever it is. And there's people that jump from buildings, and you know how many stories you have to jump from. You can survive from like a 6-story building, you'll be really jacked up, and the same thing pops up, like when people like jump from bridges and stuff. They say, what did you feel when you jumped? The first thing they always feel is immediate regret. Like I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, because it was an impulsive, emotional decision that was based off of wanting to escape.
Yeah. So the message that I want to give people, because all of this topic is very heavy.
It is heavy.
It's very heavy, and even to me, it affects me. And I don't want people to leave feeling hopeless or feeling sad or feeling all this. There is so much beauty, so much to live for, and everyone's life matters, because you don't know what you can accomplish. It's like potential. Why do people love babies and love going to the, what is the department in the hospital called where the babies are born?
Oh, the NICU, or not the NICU. That's where they're,
the maternity
leave. Maternity ward.
Yeah, maternity ward.
Yes.
So everybody loves going there. Everybody hates going to like, the convalescent home, or where people are about to die, or, assisted living. But you go to a maternity ward, everybody's super excited and happy, and like, oh my God, the baby's born. And like, they're taking pictures, and they're hugging, and they're smiling. And why? because there's so much potential. It's a new baby, an infant with the people, they say it's perfect. It's perfect. He's got so much potential. He could accomplish anything. You don't know if that baby can become a doctor. He can solve this. He could do that. He can do so much.
Endless.
Yeah. And someone that's on their deathbed, they can't do much,
Yeah.
But wherever you are in your life, you don't know how much potential is inside of you unless you unleash it to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that by first putting the information out to help people become aware of these issues that are preventing you from reaching your full potential will help them. And then secondly, giving them actual practical tools. Anything that I say, I am not saying because I read it somewhere or I freaking, stole it off someone. I'm telling you from my own experience, what I've experienced, what I observe, what I think from my own life, and I have dealt with all these things. I've had suicidal ideation, I've been in the point where, that point where I was having that major depressive disorder, alcohol became a crutch because I could, like I said, I couldn't sleep. So guess what I did? I drank till I fell asleep.
Yep.
And in those moments where you're just not in your right state of mind, you can easily make a bad decision and end it all. And
in a millisecond.
Guess what? If I would have even attempted it, I immediately would have regretted it. I know I would have. And I never want to be in that position again to feel those things and to actually do it. So I am actively searching for the answers. And whatever information I have now, whatever answers I have now, I am giving. I'm in a giving mood 24/7 because that is my answer to my depression, is to stop being so selfish and worrying about myself, like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that. When my efforts stopped focusing on me and started focusing, I'm just going to give. Like, I knew I had a lot of information in my head, in my heart, and me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just put everything out. Any artistic form that I have, any information that I have, any insight, wisdom, anything that I can give, I'm going to give and give and give and give. And the depression started to go away,
Because you focused out. You weren't focusing in.
Went away.
Yep.
And my life started to, the sun started to shine through those clouds again, And little by little, I am evolving and growing into my life's purpose, into my full potential. I was that baby one day, and then life fucked me up, and then now it's my duty to fix myself.
Yes.
And I hope
responsibility.
Everyone that's out there can take a little bit of that, and if it helps you, great. You do the same thing. Go out there and you help others.
And tap into the happy hormones. That's where a lot of that comes from. The endorphins, the oxytocin, all of those happy chemicals is what we need to start leaning into when you are feeling low.
Yeah, I can see that. I will warn people though, do not get addicted to those dopamine rushes.
Well,
because there's a difference between there's difference in chemicals, and they feel very, very similar sometimes. So I think like if you get addicted to dopamine, you can easily get sucked into a different world you're just gonna be running in circle, not really accomplishing anything.
That's the thing where you have to choose things that are going to be happy hormones that are going to serve you beneficially.
Right.
Because then you can also, that's part of the bipolar disorder, where you're going to seek out pleasure-seeking hormones like
that's what
those.
I'm saying.
Right. But there could be detrimental.
Yeah.
So that's a symptom of bipolar too.
Yeah.
And hypomania.
Yeah.
But happy chemicals that will be beneficial to you, petting the puppy.
Oh, I love
which
that.
Which you love, right? Exercise, huge one.
Yeah.
Go for a walk if you're feeling depressed.
I tell people,
move your body.
I just got real serious on my working out again. Technical difficulties. So like I was saying, working out is very therapeutic. It's a form of medicine in itself.
It is.
And a lot of the times, the tension and the feelings that you have in your body, you need to find a way to release them. And our bodies are meant to move.
They are.
They say that we are, well, they know that we are like 80% water or something like that. And water needs to flow.
It's energy.
If you let water sit in wherever for a long period, like, it becomes swamp water. It becomes disgusting. But water can flow, and it can be very powerful. It's a powerful, powerful thing. So is there anything else you want to touch on before we finish up the episode for today?
No, I think that's a good consensus of what the diagnosis for depression range is. But again, I just want to put this disclaimer out there. If you know anyone that is battling any of these things, you can call 988, which is the crisis hotline for suicidal ideation. If you're feeling like you want to harm yourself, even if that's cutting or attempting to take your life, call that support system. I have clients that have used it multiple times and found it beneficial and supportive. So lean in for that support that's there for you.
Yeah, get whatever help you can with whatever situation you're at. Luckily for myself, I was working when that major depressive episode happened, and I was able to just reach out to my insurance. They gave me a list like that big of therapists and psychiatrists, psychologists. It took me a long time to get the help that I needed, but I was able to do that, and through discipline, I was able to.
Yeah, I was about to say that you didn't give up. You kept moving.
Because it's very easy to just be like, screw it. But like I said, discipline is crucial and necessary to accomplish anything in this world, including fixing your mental health or your health in general. If I want to be healthy, I got to be disciplined with my diet, disciplined with my training. Same thing. The same exact way you treat your physical health, you should treat your mental health. You should be disciplined with these things. And if you're not disciplined, you're not going to be able to be physically healthy or be mentally healthy. You might be able to just get through your life.
Barely functioning.
Yeah, but who wants to just get through things, So I want to thank you.
Well, thank you.
Again, for all of your insight, your wisdom, everything. I think people are really going to benefit from this episode. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that like button.
Yes, share, please, if you find this beneficial.
Follow Danny on her social media, Open Mind Family Marriage and Family Therapy. If you need help, make sure you get the help that you need, whether that is through, a medical specialist or any type of form of help. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Me too.